Well, the current owner of the Washington Post is one of the billionaires who now lives in abject fear of Donald Trump. The owner of the Washington Post is actually the fourth richest person in the world. And like every fourth richest person in the world, he dreams of becoming the richest person in the world, which could happen if Donald Trump decides to support that billionaire's space exploration company, and if Donald Trump helps that billionaire get an edge in the business development of artificial intelligence. And so the fourth richest person in the world no longer allows the Washington Post to count Donald Trump's lies. During the first Trump presidency, the Washington Post counted 30,573 lies that averaged out to 21 lies a day by Donald Trump. And there were days, remember, when Donald Trump didn't speak at all, didn't post anything at all, like when he had COVID. And that means that there were days when Donald Trump told many more lies than 21. Donald Trump told more than 21 lies this morning when he called into CNBC, as we will hear later in this hour, when we're joined by Nobel Prize-winning economist Paul Krugman. And then Donald Trump took some questions from reporters later in the Eisenhower office building beside the White House. And I leave it to you to decide if this was one of the lies Donald Trump told today. Question: were you aware of and did you personally approve the prison transfer for Ghislaine Maxwell? Answer: I didn't know about it at all. Nope. I read about it just like you did. The only people who can believe that are the people who believe every word Donald Trump says. The next question was, do you believe that she's credible to be listening to? Your deputy attorney general sat down with her recently, to which Donald Trump responded, well, let me tell you, he's a very talented man. The reporter, Caitlin Collins of CNN, repeatedly says, but what about her? But what about her? As Donald Trump rambled on about his former criminal defense lawyer, Todd Blanche, who is now the Deputy Attorney General, who Donald Trump claimed today is respected by everybody. Now, I sat in a courtroom in Manhattan and watched Todd Blanche lose in the one criminal trial Donald Trump has faced, where Donald Trump was hit with 34 guilty verdicts on 34 charges because Todd Blanche was the worst lawyer in that room. So no, Todd Blanche is not respected by everybody. That is another lie Donald Trump told when praising his criminal defense lawyer today. The Trump White House is leaking the possibility through various news agencies that a transcript will be released of Todd Blanche's interview with Ghislaine Maxwell. There is no possibility that that transcript will include all of Todd Blanche's communication with Ghislaine Maxwell and her criminal defense lawyer, who is a personal friend of Todd Blanche. As Donald Trump kept rambling about Todd Blanche, and the reporter kept asking, but what about her? Donald Trump ignored that question, what about her, and didn't say a word about Ghislaine Maxwell. This time, Donald Trump did not say, I wish her well, which Donald Trump has said before about the woman who was convicted of recruiting children to have sex with Jeffrey Epstein and sexually abusing those children herself. Tonight, ABC News is reporting, quote, during her 9 hours speaking with Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche last month, Ghislaine Maxwell said nothing during the interview that would be harmful to President Donald Trump, telling Blanche that Trump had never done anything in her presence that would have caused concern, according to sources familiar with what Maxwell said. That was obviously the mission Donald Trump's criminal defense lawyer embarked on: get Ghislaine Maxwell to say nothing that would be harmful to Donald Trump. And then Ghislaine Maxwell immediately got transferred from a serious federal prison in Florida, meant to house, among others, sex criminals, to the easiest federal custody facility that exists in America for women, which is not meant to house sex criminals like Ghislaine Maxwell. The rules had to be changed by Donald Trump's Justice Department to get Ghislaine Maxwell into that much more pleasant facility that is located in Texas near members of her family. Ghislaine Maxwell's lawyers lied today in a motion opposing the release of grand jury testimony in her case. The lawyers made the legitimate point that I've made on this program, that Ghislaine Maxwell's appeal is still pending before the United States Supreme Court. So grand jury transcripts should not be unsealed in a case that could conceivably go back for a retrial. That is a serious legal point. But the lawyers went beyond that and claimed that Ghislaine Maxwell is a scapegoat. That was their word. And that's the word that they want out there about Ghislaine Maxwell. The Maxwell lawyers wrote, when Epstein died, prosecutors from the Southern District of New York pivoted and made Maxwell the face of his crimes. She became the scapegoat and the only person the government could put on trial. This is what Judge Allison Nathan said about Ghislaine Maxwell's own crimes, the ones she committed, when the judge sentenced Ghislaine Maxwell for 20 years in federal prison for the crimes committed not by Jeffrey Epstein, but the crimes committed by Ghislaine Maxwell. The judge said, quote, the evidence at trial established that Ms. Maxwell directly and repeatedly and over the course of many years participated in a horrific scheme to entice, transport, and traffic underage girls, some as young as 14, for sexual abuse by and with Jeffrey Epstein. The judge paused there to stress that phrase, by and with. The judge said, I will pause on those words for a moment, by and with Epstein. It is important at the outset to emphasize that although Epstein was, of course, central to this criminal scheme, Ms. Maxwell is not being punished in place of Epstein or as a proxy for Epstein. Like every other participant in a multi-defendant case, Ms. Maxwell is being punished for the role that she played in the criminal conduct. As to that role, the trial evidence established that Ms. Maxwell was instrumental in the abuse of several underage girls and that she herself participated in some of the abuse. Ghislaine Maxwell was a child molester. That was proved in her trial. During her sentencing hearing, the prosecutor said that the whole sex trafficking scheme began with Ghislaine Maxwell's recruitment of the first girl enlisted into that scheme. The prosecutor said this about Jeffrey Epstein and his co-conspirator, Ghislaine Maxwell. They were predators together. They molested kids together. And Ghislaine Maxwell's criminal defense lawyers did not say one word in her sentencing hearing to contradict that statement that the prosecutors made. They heard the prosecutors say that, and they didn't say a word about it. No one stood up in that courtroom for Ghislaine Maxwell to say that she did not molest kids. Ghislaine Maxwell spoke at her sentencing hearing herself, and she did not say that she did not molest kids. She heard the prosecutor minutes before her say that about her, say that she molested kids. And when it was her turn to speak, Ghislaine Maxwell did not dispute that statement, that she personally molested kids. And today her lawyers used the word scapegoat. That's the word Donald Trump is going to use, and that Todd Blanche is going to use if they are scheming to make Donald Trump's wish come true for Ghislaine Maxwell. Donald Trump said he wishes her well. And the man who wishes her well now has the power to pardon her. The man who wishes her well has the power to release her from prison. And if that's what he's trying to do in exchange for Ghislaine Maxwell, insisting that Donald Trump knew nothing about Jeffrey Epstein's raping of children, then Donald Trump will want to claim that she was just a scapegoat, and that is a lie. Donald Trump now likes to claim that he revoked Jeffrey Epstein's membership in the Mar-a-Lago private club that Donald Trump runs, that he kicked him out. Today, the Daily Beast reports that Jeffrey Epstein remained a member of Donald Trump's club for more than a year after he was first indicted on federal charges of sex trafficking in Florida. The Daily Beast reports the president told reporters that he cut ties with Epstein after the pedophile stole female workers from his exclusive Florida members club. But the revelation that Epstein was allegedly still a member of the club 7 years after Epstein poached Virginia Giuffre from the spa at Mar-a-Lago in 2000 raises questions over Trump's version of events. Epstein was a member of the club until October 2007, more than a year after he was indicted and released on bail, according to the Grifters Club, Trump, Mar-a-Lago, and the Selling of the Presidency. In the footnotes of their book, the team of Miami Herald journalists Sarah Blasky, Caitlin Ostroff, Nicholas Nahamas, and Jay Weaver reported the authors viewed a membership list showing that Epstein's account had been closed. The book reports that the membership log shows his account at the club was closed in October 2007. So 7 years after Ghislaine Maxwell found Virginia Giuffre working at Donald Trump's spa and brought her to Jeffrey Epstein's house the day that she met her at Donald Trump's spa. 7 years after that, Jeffrey Epstein was still a member of Donald Trump's club. A year after he was indicted, Jeffrey Epstein was still a member of Donald Trump's club. And there is no evidence in the records that Donald Trump ended Jeffrey Epstein's membership, that he kicked him out. That might have been Jeffrey Epstein's own decision to close that membership. Today, the Republican chairman of the House Oversight Committee, James Comer, issued subpoenas after they were approved 2 weeks ago by a subcommittee. One subpoena demands the Epstein files from the Justice Department, asking for, quote, all documents and communications relating or referring to Mr. Jeffrey Epstein or Ms. Ghislaine Maxwell, and further relating or referring to human trafficking, exploitation of minors, sexual abuse, or related activity. The committee also issued subpoenas to every attorney general, Republican and Democrat, who served during any of the federal investigations of Jeffrey Epstein, and to every FBI director who served during the federal investigations of Jeffrey Epstein, and to President Bill Clinton, because the subpoena said he traveled on Jeffrey Epstein's plane 4 times, something Bill Clinton has publicly acknowledged, and a subpoena to former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton. Hillary Clinton is being subpoenaed, according to the chairman's letter to her, because, quote, Ms. Maxwell's nephew worked for your 2008 presidential campaign and was hired by the State Department shortly after you became Secretary of State. That is a much weaker connection to Ghislaine Maxwell than the guy who's in this picture over my shoulder right now, who knows much more about Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell than Hillary Clinton ever will.